for the audio.
It is New Year's Day 2026, but for researchers and creators, this is Public Domain Day 2026. We're here at the Library of Congress. This is the main building of the Library of Congress. There are several buildings
Right here on Capitol Hill.
this main building.
Beautiful, beautiful building inside and out. And just across the way, the Madison building over there on, it's called Independence Avenue.
And behind this building is the Adams building, also in College Park, Maryland.
Maryland is a huge facility. Oops, no, strike that. That's the National Archives. I made a mistake there. They're not part of the Library of Congress. My brain is frozen. But I wanted to do a live stream here today on this channel, on the Primary Sources channel,
On Public Domain Day.
Super complex. And there are just a few basics that can help you navigate copyright law. But before we get into law, let's just talk about some common courtesy and common sense.
Someone else
Creates a thing. That thing belongs to them. Common courtesy tells us that before we use that item, that creation, that song, that written word, spoken word, work of art,
that we should have their permission.
in the case of works, the creators know are alive.
It's impossible to get their permission.
And so we would want to make sure we give attribution or credit to the creator and appropriate citation to show we got that information.
That's like Research 101,
Right? When you're doing a research paper in
college, high school, grade school, you learn to give credit to your sources.
and cite your sources.
We say that a lot on this channel. When we're talking about creative works,
It's a little complicated, and we are talking just about the United States here. So, depending on the type of work, the amount of copyright might be different. It also might be different depending on whether the work was owned by a person, later owned by a company, whether the work was registered. But in general, today, January 1st, 2026, many of the works created in 1930 are now part of the public domain. That's 95 years that they were held in copyright, and now they're out of copyright. For sound recordings, in most cases in the United States, it's 100 years. So today, sound recordings from 1925 are now in the public domain. What does it mean to be in the public domain? Well, it means you can use them without permission, without license, but it's still good sense and good common courtesy to give attribution, to give credit to the person who created that work. Whether it is a composer or an artist or a filmmaker, a writer, we always want to give attribution, give credit to the person who created the work. So what kinds of works come out of copyright today? Midnight last night, 12:01 last night. So let's talk about characters. The first instance. Hey there, Du Bois, how are you? The first instance of Nancy Drew was in 1930. Nancy Drew, the teenage crime solver, is in the public domain. Miss Marple, Agatha Christie's, for me, Agatha Christie's greatest creation is Miss Marple. Miss Marple made her debut in The Murder at the Vicarage, which was published in 1930. And so that comes out of copyright today. Pluto, Mickey Mouse's dog, its first rendition was created in 1930. We're talking about, hey, Du Bois, we're talking about Public Domain Day, all the works that come out of copyright today. Hello, Cameron Quick. Nice to see you. So those are some of the characters. Blondie and Dagwood come out of copyright today. Those are some of the characters, and probably the most well-known character, or the one you might hear the most about, although I think Miss Marple is the most important, is Betty Boop. So the cartoon character Betty Boop comes out of copyright today. And I do apologize for the wind. It is like 31 degrees and very cold out here. It's actually getting colder. So that's characters. Now let's talk about film. The film Cimarron by Edna Ferber comes out of copyright today. So what this means, obviously, you'll give credit and citation, but if you want to clip that film, the film should probably be available on some internet sites for free now, for download. I'm sure there are plenty of sites that put these old films out there. And we'll talk in a bit about the National Film Registry here at the Library of Congress in the United States. For me, the greatest film of 1930 is All Quiet on the Western Front, and that comes out of copyright today. Now, what about books? Lots of books. I already mentioned Murder at the Vicarage by Agatha Christie. The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett comes out of copyright today. Let's talk about music. Now, we mentioned that music is not on the it's not on the 95-year copyright. It's 100 years. So for music, it's 1925 that we're looking at. So the theme used by the Harlem Globetrotters, Sweet Georgia Brown. The Harlem Globetrotters had to pay a license fee for that theme. It is now out of copyright, and I'm not going to hum it or sing it, but it's called Sweet Georgia Brown. It is now out of copyright, so you can sing it, hum it, do whatever you want. It is out of copyright. Yes, Sir, That's My Baby is another one that's out of copyright, and there are a whole host of Gershwin tunes that are out of copyright today. Let's talk about art. There are so many artworks out of copyright today, including a very important sculpture, the World Cup. The first rendition of the actual World Cup trophy is out of copyright today. I'm going to try to walk over here and see if the wind gets a little better. By the way, if you're wondering where the Library of Congress is, it's right here across the street from the Capitol. All Quiet on the Western Front, the 1930 film, is out of copyright today. And so many other artworks. Photography. Now, for me, this is really interesting, and you'll see on a couple of websites today. You know, everyone's going to do their little blog. People who, like me, are interested in this thing. They'll talk about Cimarron. They'll talk about All Quiet on the Western Front. They'll talk about Miss Marple and Betty Boop, and but what they might not talk about are magazines. In the 1930s, really the 1920s, the 1930s, the artwork for magazines like the Saturday Evening Post, Norman Rockwell, Fortune magazine, Harper's Bazaar, Vogue. Take a look online at those magazines. The artwork is amazing, and anything published 1930 or prior is now in the public domain. I have a little short video out there on this channel right now. I'm working on a full-length video on this topic, talking about Public Domain Day 2026 and how you can use these newly released creative works in your research as a family historian, as a genealogist. We want to tell the full story about our ancestors, and it's great to collect all the important dates and places, the birth dates, the death dates, all that good stuff. But to tell a true story, we want to know how our ancestors lived. That means knowing where they worked and what hobbies they had and what movies they may have seen and what books they may have read. And so having these works come out into the public domain can help us to tell a really full story. What What about any Eastern Front moves? I don't know. I don't know any Eastern Front movies. We'll have to, you know, there are good stories about the Eastern Front. People forget over and over about how difficult it is to fight a war on two fronts, particularly the Russian front in the winter. This is the beautiful, beautiful main building of the Library of Congress. Here in Washington, D.C., we're on Capitol Hill. And it is going to be a beautiful sunny day. It is so cold and it is so windy. And from here on Capitol Hill, not only can you see the Library of Congress, but you can see the Capitol, obviously. Oh, I can feel that sun now. It's much better. But Public Domain Day is a great day to celebrate. It's a wonderful day to do some exploration. There's a great website, which I will put in the description to this video when I upload the video. There's a great website by the Duke University School of Law. It gives a really great overview about what copyright law, kind of an easy primer on copyright law. And it talks about a number of the works released into the public domain today. Not all of them, because honestly, when you think about everything that may have been published in 1930, there's really not a way to make a comprehensive list of everything. But I really recommend checking out magazine covers. Life magazine, Time magazine, Vogue. In my short, I posted some of the covers from the Saturday Evening Post, Harper's Bazaar, even Fortune magazine, some of the business magazines. The artwork is stunning. Everyone, I hope you have a fantastic 2026. Thank you so much for joining me here live at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill. Happy Public Domain Day 2026.